Are you a Marvel fan? In this video I'm going to show you how I created a Scarlet Witch fan art. Let's do this! For the background part I decided to go with this building. I have added a mask and then I have double click on the layer and added a color overlay, a blending mode set to color, and I have choose this bluish color to have a bluish tone to my image. And this part I will add later on in this design. Those will be the reflections from the fire that we'll have in that part, but for the moment I'm going to leave it like that. For the building in the left I have decided to go with this image. Then I have applied the same color overlay and I have added a 2 pixel Gaussian blur. Then I have repeated the process. For the building on the right is the same image, but I have used a different part of it. And for this part I have duplicated this ground and now I have the same ground over there. This helped me a lot. I have chosen this part and placed it all the way to the bottom area. Here I have used levels to brighten the image a bit, and with that layer set to color and painted with blue, I painted with the same color. And I have added a 2 pixel Gaussian blur. For the moment I decided to have those buildings in the back, and later on I have changed some things to them. After I decided that my base is complete, I have pressed Ctrl+Shift+I to create a screenshot of everything, then right click on it and convert it to a smart object. After that I have added some field blur, so go to filter, choose blur gallery, field blur, and here first thing I decrease the overall blur to 0. Then I clicked on the left building and added a 2 pixel blur, then the same thing on the right building, a 2 pixel blur, and on the far one 3 pixel blur, and on the buildings again a 3 pixel blur. And then I have decreased the brightness all the way to the bottom, and then I have used curves and increased a bit the whites and increased the blues. Then I have added a bit of fog in the bottom area by painting with just a white color. And then I decided that this part with the buildings is too poor in elements, so I have decided to add some lights over there. I had this night image from Unsplash and I have dragged it on top of my buildings, and then I have set the blending mode to color dodge, and then I chose the right angle for some buildings. I have selected that area with the lasso tool, and then I have pressed the mask, and with the brush tool I have brushed with the black color the parts that should be not visible, and I have my lights over there. So I repeated the process with parts again from the same picture. Then I started to add some elements into my design. I have this garbage rusty car from Envato. It's a 3D element. I have rotated and used that angle. And again I have added the color overlay that I told you about with the blue color set to color. And then I have added some blur, some motion blur. And then with the selective color I have modified the blacks, and with the curves I have modified again the colors. I have a really interesting tutorial for you to understand how to match the colors of an object or subject with the background. You should check it out. And then I have added some dust, some fog on top of it using a layer, a normal layer, and I have painted with some gray color. And then I have added more on top of it with the layer set to screen this time, because I want to focus more on my character, not on the background. Then I have added this barrel, adding that color overlay and a shadow underneath it, painting with a very dark color and set the blending mode to multiply, so this is the shadow. I have darkened up the left side using levels, hue saturation, I have modified the colors, and then with linear dodge I have added some highlights. If you want to create those types of highlights, you should watch my dedicated tutorial. And I have repeated the process and added this sign, this damage sign, and then the same boring stuff with the blur and adding some shadows and some linear dodge for the highlights. And after I placed those elements on the ground, I have added a levels adjustment layer and made them darker. And then I wanted some fire here on the barrel, and I have this fire from Neostock. If you want to download those assets, you should check out the description in this video.
It's not what everyone else sees.
For the Scarlet Witch, I have started using this picture and I have added a mask and masked the certain areas that I wanted. Then from this picture I have used her right arm, our left, and I placed it there and I have duplicated and moved it to the other side. Then for the face I have used the head from this picture and a bit of hair, and I have placed the head on top of the other body. Then from this picture I have used this portion of the cape and I have placed it here on this side, duplicated, and with the warp tool, so Ctrl T, right click and choose warp, I have moved it around a bit to have a different shape so it doesn't look exactly like this one. And underneath everything I have painted with a dark color to fill that gap, and then with hue and saturation I have masked that area and changed the colors to this reddish color, and then at the end I have changed the color to the elements that I had over there, so it looks like that. I have placed her here and added a small shadow underneath the legs, and then with a layer set to color I have painted the hair with red. Then I have tried to match her colors with the rest of the background, at least for now, because I'm going to add more things to this image. I have used the hair from photomanipulation.com. So here on the hair part I have several PNGs files that I have placed one on top of another. So if you are interested in getting the hair, please check out the links in my video description. And then behind her I have added this glow with a color dodge. Go to layer, new layer, and here choose color dodge and fill it with black. Then with the brush tool and a bluish color, let's say this one, I have painted behind her, and as you see it adds a really interesting glow. Then this time I have added the highlights using color dodge, not linear dodge, but it's the same thing. So I have painted with a white color around the subject. As you can see, this is what I have painted, manually painted. And on top of everything I have added this barbed wire. And now let's add a screenshot again, Ctrl Alt Shift and I for that, and right click, convert it to a smart object. Now is the time to add all those cool effects, and for that I have used a plugin which is called Optics from Boris FX. This is a very cool interface and easy to use. In the left we have the layers like in Photoshop, and here on the bottom area we have a lot of effects, and today I'm going to show you some of them. You can do that by using a lot of stock images, but here you can move them around and you have everything under one program. So let's go to particle illusion, and here let's choose the magic, PI magic, and on the magic let's go and choose the watery portal, and it will open something like that. And here on the right side we have the parameters, and we can change a lot of things. Let's scale it a bit more. If we want to move, we can move it around. Let's see here on the particle properties, I want to zoom in a bit, so I'm going to increase this one a bit more and decrease the life, and this removes a lot of things from the portal. It will make it less powerful. You can even rotate it from the board transform if you want, and then if you decided that it's enough, it's the time to add a really interesting mask. So if we click on this little icon, we are going to add a really interesting type of mask, which in our case today we are going to use easy mask. So now we are going to use the mouse, and the left click of the mouse is doing something and the right click is doing something else. First we need to decide which parts won't be affected by the filter. So with the right click of the mouse, I'm going to hold with the mouse with the right click, and I'm going to paint, as you see, with some reddish color. Then I can zoom in with the mouse wheel if you want, and with the space you can move the image like in Photoshop. And here I'm going to draw again, and I can use the eraser tool and erase the parts that I didn't that I selected and I shouldn't have selected them. And then I'm going back to paint again, and I'm going to tell, okay, here on those sides I want the effect to be visible, and the program will know. And if you want to add some parts again that won't be affected, you can right click and draw those parts also, because I see that I forgot some parts. And as I said, with the left click of the mouse on those areas, you know, the effect will be visible. When you finish, just click on this wheel and it will generate a mask. Now if we are going to click on the layer's thumbnail, not on the mask, we are going to see that our image is not affected, our character is not affected by the portal, and the portal is behind her. Now let's add another layer. So click on this thumbnail to add another layer. I'm going to select again the PI magic, and this time I'm going to choose a different filter. So I'm going to the ethereal aura. I really love it. Let's see, on the word transfer, I want to increase a bit the scale. So I am dragging this slider to the right, and now I have a different scale. And on the particle properties, I want to decrease a bit the life because it's too powerful. Now I won't spend the same time in creating the mask. I'm just going to hold Alt and drag the mask to my layer, and now everything is behind our character. Now I chose this electric tunnel. I'm going to move it around and click on the word transform and reduce the scale and move it in the back. And now we will have a really interesting portal. As I said, let's hold Alt and drag this mask, and now the portal looks really nice. Now is the moment to add the zaps in her hand, so let's create a new layer. And this is one of the things that I really love a lot to do. So on here on the bottom area on the render tab, I'm going to choose the ultra zap. It will add this really easy to use ultra zap, and you can move everything, and the beginning of it and the end of it, you can place it as you wish. It works like the puppet warp from Photoshop, and it's really, as I said, really easy to use and intuitive. Alright, so when you decided that the shape it's enough, you can play with the bold width, with the feather, with the blur, brightness. You have even branchiness that you can add or reduce. So in this case we have only 4 branchiness, and we can move this slider, and as you see on the screen I have more branchiness, and the length of them, you can make them smaller or longer if you want, but you know, you have to be careful because you can ruin the final result. So this is too much, and you can change the starting color. You can start with a different color if you want. You can start with this color, but for my design today I'm going to stick with the original color. So when you decided that you have finished, you can right click on the layer and duplicate the layer, because we want to move it to the other arm. So I'm just going to drag it and, you know, positioning it to the other side, and I can rotate and move it and have a really different shape at the end. Let's create a new layer. Now I'm going to the render again and choose night sky. And here we have on the left side a lot of presets. And if you look on the screen, there are a lot of stars over there. And I'm going to choose this one, the simple star field with no animation. To this one, I'm going to add an easy mask. So click on the mask and choose easy mask. Okay, I want the stars to be only on the zaps. So I want the effect to be around this part. So I think you can admire my drawing skills. They are amazing. Even my daughter can paint like that. All right, and then I'm going to tell, okay, here with the right click of the mouse, I don't want anything to be on the screen. So that means my stars will be visible just on the parts that I painted with the left click of the mouse. Click on the mask to apply it, and then click on the layer. Now we have those stars only on the zaps. Now let's add some small lens flare in her hands. So click on a new layer, go to light, and here lens flare. So I'm going to drag the default one. I really love it. You can find different types of lens flare here. If you click, you can change them around, the angle, the shape, everything that you want. Let's drag it into her hand. Here a much easier way is to drag. If you hover this circle, you can drag it inside and it will lower the size of that lens flare. And if you choose to reduce the brightness, you can do it here from the parameters. And you can duplicate this layer by right click on it and duplicate the layer, and then you can drag this lens flare to the other hand. Now let's apply a film filter. So create a new layer and we have tons of films, filters, gradients, everything that you want from different movies, film effects, film stocks. So here on the left, if you click once, you'll see that it will change everything into your image. There are a lot of effects from different type of movies, and you can play around with them, adding as many as you want. So I decided to go with this aqua color after all, and reduce the opacity to around 50% and hit OK. If you want to try this amazing plugin, you have a 20% off if you'll use my special Mr23 coupon. Just use the link in this video description. And now when I have finished with everything, I'm just going to press apply. So for the bottom area, for the reflection, I'm going to teach you something that I have learned from Max Sabin and also from the photo manipulation channel. So press Ctrl Alt Shift and I to create a screenshot, and I'm going to drag this one, the screenshot, I'm going to drag underneath everything on top of the buildings. Create a new layer, and I'm going to press D to have those swatches like that, black on top, white underneath. Go to filter and choose render, and here choose clouds. Let's uncheck everything so we can see only this layer. Now press Ctrl and L for levels, and we are going to play around with the sliders, something like that. Hit OK. Now let's decrease the zoom. Press Ctrl T and drag this by holding Alt, and then move it around in your image to choose a certain part of it with some black area. So I decided to use this area. So Ctrl A to select everything, press M to select the marquee tool, and right click, layer via copy. Now press Ctrl T and hold Shift, drag it to the bottom, and then right click again and choose perspective and drag the corners to match your perspective of your image, and then double click. Now create a new layer underneath this one, so hold Ctrl while you are clicking on the plus icon. Take the paint bucket tool, press on the screen and fill it with black. And now let's go on channels, and here hold Ctrl and click on any of the channels, go back and uncheck everything and bring back the layer with the screenshot. Now on the layer with the screenshot, I'm going to press the mask and uncheck the link between them by clicking on this icon. Press Ctrl T and flip it vertically. And now you can drag it around, something like that. And for the areas that are not really that well generated, you can take the black color and try to mask them out, so you can have that water only on the parts that you want. I added a hue and saturation and clip it inside by reducing the saturation and the lightness, because the reflection should be a bit desaturated than the reality. Here on this canister, I have made a duplicate of it and place it underneath here, so it has a reflection. And now I'm going to do this, so I won't spend again a lot of time in generating the same effects. I'm going to add a new screenshot, so press Ctrl Alt Shift and I, right click and convert it to a smart object, and then just hold Alt and drag the smart filter on top of the new screenshot. So that's the beauty of smart filters, because you don't have to spend another time in generating them again. You just copy them and apply them just like that. Hello and welcome to a new edition of my Mr23 review. If you want to have your work featured in my videos, just use the hashtag Mr23 review whenever you post your work on Instagram. Today the first artwork that I'm going to choose is this one from Mr. Green 85. This is very interesting, and the color scheme, it's amazing for this type of artwork. And besides that, I loved the water splashes, and overall Mr. Green did a really nice job. Congrats, Mr. Green. The second artist that I'm going to nominate today for my Mr23 review is Steamlight with this, let's say, cyberpunk design. I loved what he did there with the hair, and also I love the blues used in this artwork. I like it. Thanks for using my Mr23 review, and good luck with your future artworks. And the last artist that I'm going to nominate for my today's video is Suzanne Bard Art. Suzanne used Benny in creating this design, and I really love the final result. She created a fantasy and magic artwork using this photo of Benny's, and let's give Benny credit for what he did in the past years. He was like a locomotive for us in this photo manipulation world, and Suzanne here did a really nice job in creating this fantasy design using Benny. Then I decided to respect somehow the movie. I have added a new layer set to color dodge and filled with black, and then I have taken the brush tool, and with the brush tool set to red, I have painted a bit with the red color so it matches the original movie.